Hi, you're listening to Book Chat with author Vivian E. Moore.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode. We really appreciate you joining us. This podcast really shows us how we can all learn, live, and thrive off of each other. By sharing our knowledge through our conversations, we will impart some knowledge whilst learning ourselves how to progress even further. Here is your host.
Hello and welcome to Book Chat. I am your host, author Vivian E. Moore. Hope everyone had a great week and I hope you're having an even better weekend. All right, we're going to get straight to today's show. The title is Step Right Up and the topic is why authors need platforms. Well, imagine you're at a bustling carnival. Vendors are calling out, performers are dazzling the crowd, and there's one big top tent where the real magic happens. Now, imagine you're the author and that tent, that's your platform. Well, in today's publishing world, having a great book is only half the battle. Whether you're self-published, traditionally published, or somewhere in between, your author platform is your stage, the place where readers discover who you are, what you write, and why they should care. Okay, so what is an author platform? Well, ordinarily, I would not have to explain that because, even a 6-year-old at this time and stage knows what social media platforms or any platform is. But if you're not informed, then I'm going to help you out with that. Okay, so what is an author platform? Well, an author platform is your visibility. It is your connection to readers and your ability to sell books through that connection. Got it? So think of it as your audience, your presence and influence. Okay. We are well practiced and rehearsed in what influence means. If you are one that utilizes social media on a daily basis or every 5 minutes, and then you see all types of social media influencers out there, right? So that's what we want to do. We want to become influencers as well across social media, across newsletters and blogs and podcasts and public speaking, book clubs, and more and more and more. Okay. So it's not about being famous. Okay, you do not have to be social media famous or famous in any terms. It's about being findable and engaged with the right readers. Okay, that's what it's all about. Not being famous, but being successful. Okay, because that's something that we all want, right? So why do authors need platforms? Well, I am going to give you 4 good reasons why authors need platforms. Okay, so the first one is publishers expect it. Even traditional publishers, they want authors who are established with their own audiences. Okay. If you've ever filled out a submission form for a manuscript to a traditional publisher, that is one of the questions that is on there. Do you have social media platforms and how many followers do you have? Okay, the question is there. So they want to know, if you already have a presence, a social media presence, because that makes their job a little bit easier. Okay, it takes one thing away from what they need to do as publishers to make sure that what you have is sellable, because you already have an audience that is engaging with you, that is responding to what you put out there on social media. So they know that you already have that presence and that you are engaged, so that helps them to help you. Okay, because a strong platform can be the difference between a book deal and a rejection letter. All right, just to be clear on that. All right, so the second reason is readers want a relationship. Now, I know that a lot of people are a bit standoffish when it comes to putting all of your personal information out there. And I'm not telling you to do that, because I would not do that. You don't need to do that, okay? But the type of relationship that we are talking about today is having that personable relationship with your readers, just giving them tidbits of who you are as a person. You don't have to tell them your most intimate secrets, but they just want to know you as another human being, okay? So they can relate to you, to who you are. They want to know that you're not a bot. They want to know that you are a real life person that are communicating with them, okay? Because people don't just buy books. They follow authors. They do, okay? And they want to know that the person that they're following is real, and to prove to them that you are, that means that you have to have a relationship with them. You have to put those little tidbits of information out there to let them know that we can have communication. Okay, if I put something out there and I want you to respond to it, then by all means, please respond to it, and that way I will respond in turn to you. Okay, so your platform is where you share your journey. Okay, and it offers all of those behind the scenes, all of that insight that helps build a community that wants to read what you write. Okay, no one wants to read what you write if they can't communicate with you, if they don't know who you are as a person. They may know who you are as a writer, as an author. They may admire your work, but they want to know you. They want to know, a little bit about your background. What captivated you in becoming a writer. Okay, they want to know all of those secrets. So it's okay to share that information with them because it builds that personable relationship with your readers when you share those tidbits with them. Okay, so the third thing is you control the spotlight, right? So your platform, it gives you direct access to your readers, and that is something that you most definitely want. Okay, whether it is through a monthly newsletter or across social media or a blog. Okay, because you're not just shouting into the void. What you're doing is you're starting a conversation, you're starting a relationship, and you can do that and also control the spotlight. Okay, you can control what you put out there, how much you put out there, how much you want to share with them. Okay, because you are in control of that. All right, so don't ever lose sight of that. And the fourth thing is that it builds long-term success. Okay, no one wants to be a one-hit wonder. All right, when you get into this business of writing and selling books, you want to do it for as long as possible, right? You want to have a career at doing it. That's the goal. And a good platform doesn't just launch one book, it launches a career. Okay, that is the word for today, career. All right. And the more engaged your readers are, the more likely they want to come back for the next title. And guess what? The next. Okay. And so on. So, if you're ready to step into the ring, then you need to start small, but stay consistent. Okay, consistency is key. We talk about that all the time on many different episodes. We always talk about being consistent. You have to. I believe that there was one episode called Persistently Consistent. Yes, it makes sense. Okay, you get it now, right? Okay, so in order to do that, first and foremost, you need to set up an author website. And you need to maintain that website, okay? It should not be a defunct website. It should be a website that you have engaged with heavily, and you've updated the information. You've added new information out there. So, and I know that it's a lot of work, especially if you are an independent author. You don't have a team of folks that is assigned to all of those different tasks. You have to maintain everything. It's on you. And so, and if writing is not your first career, it's your second career, it doesn't really matter because writing is writing, whether you're doing it first or second. It takes a lot of your time away from everything else. And especially, doing all the things that you need to do to be consistent in what you're doing. Okay. So I know you have to take those extra steps to make sure that you are maintaining your website, but you need to do that, all right? And you need to post regularly on one or all social medias, okay? You need to make sure that you are doing that. And I mean, it's so super simple now with posting. You can post to one and then you can share it with many others, all right? The only one that I think that you can't share directly with is TikTok, especially from Facebook. Now, you can share TikTok to Facebook, but I don't think that you can share directly from Facebook to TikTok. Okay, I may be wrong about that, but I think that's true. All right. And then the next thing you need to do is to grow an email list. And if you don't know how to do that, well, there are so many different mediums out there that gives you all of that information about growing email lists. The information is out there. You just have to research it and find what you need. Okay. And then the last thing is that you need to engage with other writers and readers online. Now, I know that there's a certain stigma associated with that, okay? But, that is something that I've always done, which is engage with fellow authors by interviewing them on my show. If you go back and listen to some of my earlier podcasts or episodes, you will find that I have done many interviews with other authors, because not only does it help them, but it helps you as well, because I realized that there were that there was a certain stigma that exists between authors, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to interview them on my podcast, mainly due to the nature of popularity, because some authors they may feel that fellow authors will steal the spotlight away from them, right? But what it reveals through communication is that level of camaraderie and that sense that a brotherhood, sisterhood among authors is a real thing, and it can exist. Okay, two things can exist at the same time. All right, so it's not about trying to steal the thunder from another author, because if you are interviewing an author on your show that has a big following, of course, their readers they will want to check out the podcast that they're being interviewed on, because they want to listen to it and see what they're talking about. And not only does that help the author, but it also helps you, the podcaster, the interviewer, because it drives folks to your show as well. Okay, so keep that in mind if you're an author and you are doing other author interviews, that it's okay to do that, to highlight other authors on your show, because it builds that community between you and those authors, and also those authors and their readers. All right, because building a platform, it isn't a one-time event. It is an evolving part of your writing career. All right, it's part of the journey. But the sooner you start, the sooner you'll have a crowd ready to cheer when your book hits the shelves. All right, so if you're ready to step right up, then the world is waiting for your voice, and make sure they can hear it. All right, guys, that is the show for today. I hope that you will listen, like, and share across your social media platforms, that you will also like and share on this podcast. You can find it anywhere you listen to podcasts. Okay, not just on Podbean, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can find Book Chat with Author Vivian anymore. And I hope that you are tuning in. And I thank those who download the show on a weekly basis. That is what keeps me going. That is what keeps this podcast thriving. And I do appreciate it. And I would appreciate your comments as well, because I do want to know what you're saying, what you're thinking, okay? Because that helps me to help you. All right. And as I always say before I end every episode, remember to tell those who you care about the most how you feel about them today, because tomorrow is not promised. Today may be the only chance you get to say it. So on that note, I love you. I hope you love me back. And until the next time you hear my voice, God bless you and goodbye.
Loved what you've heard on this week's episode? Well, the answer is simple. It would mean the world to us if you could head over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review and feedback. Spreading the word really is the best way to grow our podcast and achieve even greater things. Thank you.